This episode of The Edge is brought to you by Audible.com, offering more than 180,000 titles for smartphone, tablet, and desktop. To get a free audiobook of your choice and help Trek.fm at the same time, visit audibletrial.com/TrekFM. And also by Enterprise in Space, an international program of the nonprofit National Space Society. Find out how you can help science and education and become a virtual crew member aboard the NSS Enterprise Orbiter by visiting enterpriseinspace.org. And if you want to join the conversation and share your thoughts on this episode, join the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook. Just type BABEL into the Facebook search field. We look forward to seeing you there.
You're listening to Trek FM.
What have you done out there on the edge of Federation space?
Hello and welcome to Tracks from the Edge, Trek FM show in which we provide audio commentary for new episodes of Star Trek in whatever form they may take. I'm Mike.
I'm Max.
And today we are going to be taking a look at the 747th episode of Star Trek, which is also the shortest episode out of all 747 Star Trek episodes. Star Trek, Short Treks, The Brightest Star.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into this, should we put on our commentary Trek Stars caps and talk about who's behind the scenes on this one?
Yeah, Doug Arniakoski. Yeah, that guy.
Doug Arniakoski, the director of last season Star Trek Discovery.
The best movie ever in past or future to have Endgame in the title.
Yes. I 100% agree with you. Highlander Endgame, to be specific, was his first movie, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's something.
Easily the best of the Highlander movies. I'm serious.
Right. Take that, universe.
Here's the thing, right? I know everyone else thinks that the first Highlander is the best. I'm guessing that Doug Arniakoski would agree with you, seeing as how, according to him, at least back when the movie came out, he had never seen the final cut of his Highlander movie.
Yeah.
But I saw it, and let me tell you, it's awesome.
I'll give it this. It isn't the worst Highlander movie.
Oh, no, not by a long shot.
So, I mean, there you go. That's something, right?
And if you want to see the director, well, I'm not going to say the director preferred version, but according to him, the last version of the movie that he worked on that's out there, if you get the DVD, there is a work print version that was like pulled off of an Avid.
Mm-hmm.
That's the version to watch. And it is definitely the best version because they didn't like completely reorder all of the scenes. It makes a lot more sense and it flows a lot better and everything.
But it's not the director preferred version because he would prefer that you like read some comic books or like make a sandwich.
This is the impression that I get. Yes. But regardless, it's awesome. He also directed another movie, which is near and dear to my heart. I'm not going to say it's near and dear to my heart, but I like it a lot. It's called Nurse. Have you ever seen it?
I have seen it.
Yeah. Written by the writer of Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, David Lowery.
Yeah, okay.
And it's about a woman who...
we've seen it.
I don't remember whether or not she's a nurse, but she's she pretends to be a nurse, and she seduces men into cheating on their significant others, and then kills them.
Yeah, we've all seen the poster.
Okay, it's the trashiest trash you've ever seen, and I love every second of it. So yeah, check that out in 3D if you can. It's actually shot in 3D. The 3D is very good, so check that out.
If you can't see it in 3D, don't watch it. Or either way.
It's great. It's great. Check it out. He also directed an episode of Star Trek Discovery, Lethe, and apparently he's directing a few episodes of season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, which it was just revealed has been expanded to 14 episodes. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like the sound of that. I'm happy about this this whole CBS All Access Star Trek universe thing.
Yeah, they just announced that Picard will be premiering at the end of 2019, and in between we're going to be getting more short treks.
Yeah,
so there you go.
I mean, you got to hand it to these guys. They're making Paramount look like a bunch of chumps.
Yep, Paramount can't even get one movie off the ground, let alone 2. But when they do get those movies off the ground, they're going to be so cool.
They're going to be movies that exist.
They will totally be. I mean, yeah. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, we'll burn that bridge when we get there.
Yep. So yes, Doug Arniakowski, he directed. This episode was written by Bowie Kim and Erica Lapolte, who wrote the best episode of Star Trek Discovery, in my humble opinion, Into the Forest I Go. And yeah. Should we start this thing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So we're at 0 on the counter.
Yeah, we're at the beginning of it.
The beginning of it. For those people who haven't done this before.
0 is where things begin.
Yep. Just start up with us. We'll give a countdown, start up the episode as we start our episode, and then we will be in perfect sync with your episode. I know it's going to be hard to do if you're listening to this.
Let's keep explaining it. We've only done a few dozens of these, so let's keep going.
Okay. All right. So Max, if you're ready.
I've been ready for many years.
Okay. We will start this up in 3, 2, 1, start. Oh, there's the Discovery, which, by the way, is now a Hallmark ornament, which you can buy in your local mall.
Oh, man. I got to go to the mall.
Short tracks.
Not for that. For another thing.
The Brightest Star. Okay. And we're going to cut to the planet of... Is it called Kelmar? Kelpiar?
It's I don't know, man.
I forget the name of the planet. It doesn't matter.
Look at that. He's holding kelp. I get it.
Yeah. See, I didn't get that because I didn't know what kelp was, but whatever. they don't have kelp in the city, I don't think. I don't know. I try to stay out of the water whenever possible, but
I recommend staying out of the water. The water, no good.
But the thing about that scene, the thing about that shot and everything like that is, you go out to like a little, lake in Toronto or wherever they are, and instantly, like, your production value just like shoots up by like millions of dollars. You notice that?
Yep. That's why people go to Canada.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, someone should have told Star Trek about that like 52 years ago. And
I think it's an exchange rate thing because their money is worth more.
Maybe something like that.
That's probably it. That's why their mountains are so expensive looking.
So there was an interview which was done with the writers of this episode where they said that this takes place, well, they say like 18 years before the show or something like that. So just to kind of like put that into context, this would have been like 2238 or something like that. It's essentially, 8 years before the Cage, I guess? More than that.
No, I think that isn't the Cage supposed to be roughly around the same time?
Right. Yeah, it would have been 2 years. So this would have been like, yeah.
So it's about 18 years before all of that.
Yeah. Okay, so like about 18 years. I mean, yeah, we're trying to get cute with it, but I guess there's no reason. So this is like a really young Saru then.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks pretty much exactly the same. But I mean, we don't know how these guys age.
In, the past 18 years. But that's cool, Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. This is
actually very similar to Doug Jones. He doesn't look like he's aged a day in the past 18 years either. So
Well, I'm pretty sure that about 10 years ago, he was just like, you know what? I'm just going to lean into it and always wear latex masks. And so I don't think there's any way of knowing what he actually looks like.
That's quite possible. I wouldn't put it past him because, he's really good at that stuff.
He's so good at it. He's like, why am I bothering having a real face? It's just a lot of work.
Yep. Yeah. So, okay, so here we're learning. I mean, obviously, a lot of world building in these 15 minutes, but we're learning sort of about how the Kelpian culture works, right?
Yeah,
and the idea of them being a prey species. I mean,
we're not learning enough about that.
What was that?
We're not learning enough about that.
Well, I think the idea is we're going to be learning more about that in the coming, weeks and months.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, everyone's like, oh, are they going to go back? Are they going to go back? It's like, of course they're going back. The whole point of these things is that they're super cheap. So they shot this one when they built the whole set for the whatever, right? I mean, that's my thinking, right?
Look, I don't know. I hope so, because since the first episode of the show, I was like, okay, so he's a prey species, and they're side by side with a predator species, and they evolved side by side. And that's how does that work? How is that possible? And I was like, okay, all right. And then I saw the teaser for this, and I was like, okay, maybe they're going to go into it. And they did not.
Well, it really is weird, and it makes you wonder if maybe there was a different prey species, because like in the first season, you say like, okay, all of that stuff, they evolved, as a prey species, and all that good stuff. But then also that they are the equivalent of cattle on Earth, right?
Yep.
So that plays more into what we're seeing here. And obviously evolution takes a really long time. So it's quite possible that they were a prey species in that sense, with a predator on their planet for most of their existence. And now the Baul are like some other alien race that is like, oh, cool. Cattle.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me, because there are too many open unanswered questions and loose ends, and it's too complicated. The idea of like two intelligent species evolving side by side, and one of them is prey for the other one. It's the idea of like a culture developing around this notion is so nuts. It does not fit a model of like how species evolve. I mean, I'm not an evolutionary biologist, but like my layman's perspective, this does not make sense.
But I mean, do we know that the predator species was intelligent?
Well, we don't know. I mean, the idea, if they're not intelligent, then it seems really unlikely that they would actually maintain their supremacy with an intelligent species.
Yeah.
Like these guys. I mean, like, it's the reason that they don't have, like bows and arrows and have like fortified their encampment here seems to be because they've just resigned themselves to this idea.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing requires a culture around like this notion of surrendering to death. And I don't see how that culture develops in a way that is sustainable, because a culture that embraces its own extinction is a culture that does not reproduce, and it's a culture that does not spread. So, I mean, I could see this happening in a couple places. I don't see it lasting long enough to actually catch on anywhere.
But I mean, that's kind of what this is about, right? The idea of, I mean, he says it like, I don't see how they can just be content with this life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It does not make sense. It does not make sense that they are cool with all of this. Yeah. I agree with his point of view on this situation. The life in which he exists strains credulity.
I also, I mean, see, this episode is really weird for me, because I know most people are saying like this is the best of the short treks so far, and I honestly think it's probably the weakest of the short treks, and yet at the same time, it gives me the most to think about. Like, so much so that I had to rewatch this episode a few times for the plot details, because every time the thing starts up, my mind just starts wandering about the themes going on in the episode, right? Thematically, I think it's the strongest, and it's so Star Trek, it's not even funny. I mean, this goes back to, like, you know, the original Roddenberry vision of Star Trek, for sure. And, you know, I mean, that stuff is great. I just don't know how well it works as, like, a piece of narrative filmmaking. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
I mean, it's similar to, like, what would the episode be if, like, the story was told without the Enterprise crew, and they're like, oh yeah, like, every few days we just sacrifice some of our members to this snake in the mountain, and you'd be watching them do that, and then, like, one of them would be like, you know what, I'm tired of sacrificing people to the snake in the mountain, I'm gonna leave, and that guy left.
Yeah, and that's fine, because I mean, like, we know about the guy. I mean, we do have to place this in the proper context, right? And I'm not going to give it a pass for it being short. A lot of people are like, well, you know, they only had 15 minutes. That doesn't fly with me. I'm sorry. No, but at the same time, I don't think that is a weakness either. You know, the problems that I have with this episode are, like, pieces of their ship just fall off occasionally.
Well, you know how it is with old ships.
You know, and then, like, you know,
you got your communications consoles like stapled to the exterior of your ship, and you're taking off and one just flies off, and you're just like, I mean, it keeps happening, but honestly, where else are we going to put it?
And, like, I understand that, like, the idea behind this, like, is, like, Saru is, you know, the Stephen Hawking of the Kelpians, right? Like, I mean, that's what Giorgio says when she comes down. She's like, this is really, really weird, because you're, like, way smarter than everyone else you live with, essentially, right? Like, you were able to hack this weird alien technology and use it to communicate with other aliens. And, you know, like, that's never been done before. That's so crazy, like, you know, that you were able to do that with, you know, basically, like, some sticks.
Yeah.
But, and so, okay, fine. So we'll go with that. But then there's just, I mean, things which I think were just maybe not communicated well enough, ironically enough, in that it seems like they're communicating through text messages, but it also seems like he doesn't understand the language so much so that he's writing it backwards. Because, I mean, when they bring out the universal translator here, you could say that the implication was that was creative license and they were actually texting him in Kelpian, because they obviously have the technology to communicate in Kelpian. But when you see him writing out, like, today backwards, then that implies that they're not, you know, and I mean, yeah, he's really smart, and given enough, like, literature, I'm sure that he could figure out, like, how to read English, but I just don't see where he has the means to do that, right?
Hey man, like right before I went to record this, I was like, yeah, I told my wife, like, yeah, I'm gonna record a thing about the short treks, and she was like, I liked it. What did you think? And I was like, tip of the iceberg. There's no way to start talking about all the things I think about this, and not a lot of them. Not a lot of them are, like, positive. They're all like, what? Okay, so it's a prey species that like has accepted this culture, and he's so brilliant that he's able to piece together a language from, like, basically the equivalent of, like, a speak and spell, and he figures out how to communicate. No, it's not. But like the screen has like that much information on it.
Okay.
And even less because it has a smaller number of characters. So like his vocabulary when he goes up into space is like limited to like 8 character words. So he's like the longest word I know is literally Kelpian. And like there's a lot going on here that is troubling from like a logical point of view, and I got more questions, man. I got a lot of questions. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're right that it is the tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, like there is a lot which is going on here, and I think obviously we're going to be delving into this stuff as the season progresses, and this was, kind of a teaser of sorts and kind of nice backstory. I mean, it's the equivalent of sort of like the Marvel comic book that comes out before the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, a good name for this episode would be Tip of the Iceberg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, on the whole, I thought it was good, but I do think it's the weakest of the 3, but it gave me the most to think about. So maybe it's the best of the 3. I don't know.
I like a good, go and ponder this kind of thing, but I think Calypso did that better. And I mean, the first one, can't beat that cast.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So
yeah, the first one is still the best to me, but we'll see. I mean, next month is going to be pretty cool because it's the first foray into Star Trek for
Rainstorm. He should call himself that.
Yeah, and also it's written by the creator of Lower Decks, but we'll have to wait until then. And then, oh my God, new season starting up.
Yeah, so Short Treks, I guess, is going away for a while, and then it'll come back.
Yeah, Short Treks is going away. We'll have 14 episodes of Long Treks. And then,
is that what we're calling them now?
I guess so, right?
Okay.
And then Short Treks will come back.
Yeah. I mean, like, so far, I'm liking the Short Treks thing. Like this episode, it frustrated me because it was like, let's talk about Saru's origin. Psych. But like, it was still solid. Like, if he had not said what he had said about his people, it would have worked really well.
Okay. So anyway, be sure to check out our Discovery coverage throughout the week. We've got Live from the Edge with Bruce and Brandy. Then there's Tracks from the Edge with you and me. Then there's Postcards from the Edge with Amy. Our full analysis on the Edge main show with Patrick. And then there's Notes from the Edge with Chris Jones. And you'll find all of these in the main feed on the Edge and the Trek FM master feed. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Discovery, and the best place to do that is in the Babel Conference, our listeners group on Facebook, where Amy Nelson will collect your feedback for Postcards from the Edge. You can also find us on Twitter at TrekFM, or send us an email using the contact form on our website at trek.fm/contact. Choose to send to a show and select the Edge. All right.
Bam! Nailed it.
I nailed it. So you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Mumbles3K.
And I'm J. Max Hegel.
Yes, you are. Good job remembering that. And you can also find us on our website doing a show called Film Damage at filmdamagepod.com. We haven't gotten back into it yet, but we need to get back into it. I see a Last Jedi commentary in our future. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
We'd also like to thank our associate producers, Norman C. Lau, Tony Robinson, Thomas Pulea, Lisa Slack, Shoaib Mirza, Richard Rutledge, James Muldrow, Cornelia Reutner, and Ryan Malett. I'm sorry if I pronounced any of your names wrong, but we greatly appreciate your support. If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows going and even become an AP, visit patreon.com/TrekFM for all the details. So, I guess that's it for this month. We'll be back next month with one more short trek and then brand new episodes of Disco I'm excited. Are you excited?
Yeah. Next year's 2019, right?
It is.
All right. Just wasn't sure for a second.
But until next time, take the edge off.